And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about the power rankings that were released this week. And I'll give you my thoughts on that. We'll go from the bottom to the top. And, so like we normally do. And then actually we might squeeze in the college football power rankings as well. We'll go through that towards the end of the segment here. So, starting at 32 here, we got the Carolina Panthers. I mean, no surprise there. 1-9 on the season. It's been really rough for them. It just has. And the Bears have the number 1 overall pick because of that. Panthers look like they got to be kicking themselves for taking Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud. Yeah, it's been bad. Patriots at 31, no surprise there. 2-8. They'll be playing the Giants this week, who picked up their third win on the season. So that could be the battle for like the number 2 or number 3 pick in the draft. We'll see. I mean, does Zappe start? Mac Jones start? We'll see. Cardinals, they're back down to 30, losing a close game to the Cardinals, losing a close game to the Texans, sorry. And they had their opportunities. They did. They forced C.J. Stroud into 3 interceptions. But they just couldn't get it done, and they lose a close game there. The Giants moving up to 29. Tommy DeVito, 3 touchdowns the other day against the Commanders. The Giants, no matter how bad they are, they just continue to own the Commanders. I wish they could do that to other teams, but for some reason they just own the Commanders. So at least our dominance against them continues. And it's funny because Zach Wilson got benched, right? Zach Wilson has never had a game where he's thrown 3 touchdown passes. Tommy DeVito did that in his second career start. I mean, what else is there to say? Really. The Giants, they picked up the win. That kind of hurts their chances with getting the top pick at the moment. I mean, but it's nice to see them win. It's nice to see Saquon Barkley running the ball. Kayvon Thibodeau, 10.5 sacks on the season. So, for all the people that were calling him a bust, and, I was getting a little nervous myself, but he's going to be a good player. He is. And, the Giants, they got to continue to build this team, and I'm hoping that, Joe Shane can do that. But this year was rough for the Giants. So hopefully next year things are different. 28, you got the Bears at 3-8. They showed some good things against the Lions. They forced Jared Goff into some turnovers. I think that was just more of bad Lions. But Justin Fields connected with that. With DJ Moore for that long touchdown. So we'll see what the Bears can do. Can they play better in the second half? Can Justin Fields play better? And the Bears are going to have a high draft pick with the Panthers. So, we'll see what they do at the end of the year. The Titans at 27, blowout loss against Jacksonville. This is a lost season for them. Will Levis looked really good in his debut, but hasn't looked good since. Titans, a couple years ago they were in the number 1 seed. Now, they look like one of the bottom teams in the AFC. So, they're at 27. The Commanders at 26. They dropped 3 spots. That was a bad loss against the Giants. I think it was they had 6 turnovers in that game. Sam Howell threw 3 picks. The fumbles. It was awful. And what's funny? They could have won that game, but then Sam Howell kind of sealed the deal with that pick 6. Isaiah Simmons took that back. Giants put up 31 points against the Commanders. I never thought they put up 31 points once Daniel Jones got hurt. I thought that was it. I didn't think they were going to win another game, but the Commanders proved us all wrong. So the Jets are at 25. They're at 4-6. The offense it's brutal. It's brutal to watch. Zach Wilson finally was benched. They're actually dressing all 3 quarterbacks on Friday. So you're going to have Trevor Siemian backing up Tim Boyle. Zach Wilson will also be dressed for this game, which is why at this point? Just get rid of him. But, they're gonna dress him up. Tim Boyle's getting the start against the Dolphins, and it's unfortunate, with the Jets. I mean, what could have been if Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt? But it is what it is. The Rams are at 24. They jumped up 3 spots, picking up a win against Seattle. They're playing the Cardinals this week, which is a winnable game, so you can get yourself back to get yourself to 5-6 and then go from there. Cooper Kupp dealing with that ankle injury. He might play this week, so that's good. I know Stafford got banged up in the game against Seattle as well, so we'll see what happens. But the Rams, I don't really expect them to do much. They're not the same team that they were a couple years ago, and I've said that numerous times. The Falcons at 23. Desmond Ridder is going to get the start again against the Saints. Yeah, they're still in it for the division. Pretty much every team outside of the Panthers is, so, we'll see. Packers jumped up 4 spots. They're at 4-6. They've been playing good lately. Their offense, Jordan Love has looked better. I know it was against a bad Chargers defense, but, you'll take that. Jordan Love wasn't good against the Raiders when they played, in Vegas earlier in the year. He didn't play good against the Broncos, but you'll take anything, and he definitely looked like a better player. He has looked like a better quarterback the last couple of weeks, which is good. He's looking how he looked at the beginning of the year, so you're hoping that continues. The Raiders are at 21. They did lose a tough game to the Dolphins, but when Antonio Pierce has got this team playing hard, and depending on what happens. If they keep playing hard, I think he should be the head coach moving forward. I don't think they should make a change because, look at what happened with, Gruden and Rick Bisaccia. They got rid of Gruden after the whole thing with him and the emails. And, then you bring in Bisaccia. Well, you promote Bisaccia, and he leads the Raiders to the playoffs. And then you get rid of him, you bring in Josh McDaniels, and the team regressed. So I think you got to keep Antonio Pierce if this team, continues to play well and play hard for him. You got the Bucs at 20. That was a tough game against the 49ers. They did hang around in it, but the 49ers were a much better team. So, they got a big game this week. Got to get themselves back to their winning ways. Division is still in reach. So, Chargers at 19. Brandon Staley should be fired. At this point, it's like, what are we doing? Also the drops were an issue in the game as well. But yeah, they're at 19. You got the Bengals at 18, dropping 6 spots. It's a lost season for them now that Burrow's out. It's just unfortunate because they were looking like one of the best teams in the NFL, and then of course he gets hurt and he's done for the year. The Broncos at 17. They've rattled off 4 games in a row, back to 500. The defense is playing better. So let's see. Let's see what they can do here. Colts at 16. They're 5-5. I don't really expect them to do anything, but you got to give them credit. They're not a bad team. If they could go out and have a good draft and a good free agency, in the offseason, this is going to be a good team next year. You got the Saints at 15 at 5-5. I just don't really trust them. They've just been so inconsistent this year. The Vikings are at 14, lost that tough game to the Broncos, but I still look at them as the team that's going to make the third wild card. The Steelers at 13. They let go of Matt Canada finally, so we'll see if the offense can turn it up. Seattle dropped down to 12. They lost that tough game to the Rams. Now they got the 49ers on Thursday. Geno Smith might be playing, but we'll see. If not, it's going to be Drew Lock. If it's Drew Lock, it's going to be rough. Then you got the Bills at 11, jumped up 3 spots. Let's see. They fired their offensive coordinator. They looked better. You could also make the argument that the Jets' defense mailed it in. But, Bills are still in it, over 500 now. Texans are a top 10 team. C.J. Stroud has thrown 3 picks. Well, did throw 3 picks in the game against the Cardinals, but they still won. Now they got the game for the division against the Jags, so we'll see what happens. Browns are at 9. That was a big win against the Steelers. This team looks like they're still going to make the playoffs despite, what's going on at the quarterback position. DTR getting his first win in the NFL. So congratulations to him. I know he was in tears after the game. So yeah, Browns 7-3, Jags 7-3, blowing out the Titans. They get back on the right track, and yeah, big game coming up against the Texans. Then you got the Cowboys at 7-3. Another big win over the Panthers. They play on Thanksgiving, of course, against the Commanders. Big spread there. I still don't know what to do with those games. So I got to pick somebody. At 6, we got the Dolphins at 7-3, winning against the Raiders. Achane got hurt in the game, but it was. They said it was for precautionary reasons, but we'll see why he didn't come back into the game. But we'll see what happens with that moving forward. The Chiefs dropped down 3 spots to 5. Yeah, the offense has not looked good. That's really why. You got the 49ers, the Lions, the Ravens, and the Eagles as your top 4. I'd probably put the 49ers over the Lions and over the Ravens at the moment. The Niners look like themselves. But I agree that the Eagles, they should still be the best team right now in the NFL. But we'll find out in a couple of weeks, because when do the Niners and the Eagles play each other? They play each other week 13, so in a couple of weeks. And right now, they're 2-point favorites in that game. So that is a humongous game. Really looking forward to that. And we'll see what happens, because that's going to determine who the best team is. Record-wise. Well, that's going to determine who gets home field advantage. I'm going to say that's going to determine maybe who gets home field advantage. But right now I still look at the Eagles as the best team. Lions, their defense, has not played well the last couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, those are the power rankings in the NFL. So we're going to go through the power rankings in the in college football really quickly, as we got some time left here. So, I guess we'll do. We could do the whole thing. So this is like the top 25. So you got Kansas, Tulane, Oklahoma State at 23, Utah at 22, Kansas State at 21, North Carolina at 20, Notre Dame at 19, Tennessee 18, Arizona 17, Iowa 16. And that's a team that, I've watched a little bit. It's crazy. Like, their defense is really good, but their offense just cannot score points. You look at some of these scores, like 15-13, 10-7, losing 12-10, 15-6. It's crazy. But yeah, they're at 16. LSU is at 15, Oklahoma 14, Ole Miss 13, Penn State 12, Oregon State 11, Louisville 10. Again, me not being like the biggest college person, it's just funny when you got some teams that you see as like good basketball schools. Well, Louisville actually was. When was it? It was last year. Yeah, they were bad last year, in basketball. But yeah, they're in the top 10. They're 10th. Missouri is 9th. Alabama's 8th. And again, I'm going off of CBS, but it's just it's weird that they are that low. You'd expect them to be in the top 4, but yeah, they're 8th. Texas is 7th. Oregon is 6th. Washington is 5th. Florida State 4. Michigan 3. Ohio State 2. And, of course, Georgia is at 1. Georgia being up there is no surprise. They've been one of the best teams the last, several years, of course. Winning the national championship last year. But, yeah, got some more college football in there, too, going over the power rankings. So yeah, and again, big game this weekend between Ohio State and Michigan. So we'll see how that goes. Georgia plays Georgia Tech on Saturday. Florida State plays Florida. Washington, they play Washington State. Oregon plays Oregon State. Yeah, so that's some of the matchups. Alabama this week, they play Auburn. Yeah, so it's rivalry week this week. That was a tongue twister right there. So yeah, we'll see how those games go. And with that, we are going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to look at the current standings in the NFL after Week 11. I'll go through that, and that'll be it for the show today. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.